So what does this mean? What are the implications of the Imago Dei? Well, the implications of the Imago Dei is that there is an intrinsic human dignity that places us above everything else in the creative order. That we have an intrinsic value because of the image that God has given to us. It's not a functional thing as much as it's a gift from God, which is why, like in our 9 a.m. service right here on the right, Darren Payne dances and worships the Lord, autistic, 13, probably never gonna know his ABCs, never gonna be able to add and subtract, gonna need care the rest of his life, and he is more valuable than Secretariat. Why? Because he's been made in the image of God, and Secretariat, as amazing of an athlete as that horse was, is a horse. We have an elevated human dignity. And because of that elevation in human dignity, the way we see the world and interact with the world and the way we consider the world in light of the Imago Dei must be shaped by our theology. And so let me quote Nietzsche here. Nietzsche's most famous sentence is God is dead, right? So if you know philosophy, Nietzsche is up there, and his most famous sentence was God is dead. I'd love to ask him about that, except he's dead. And so Nietzsche said, listen to this. Now this had to be a painful sentence for this ardent atheist. Another Christian concept, but one no less crazy, so listen to what he's about to call crazy, is the concept of equality of souls before God. This concept furnished the prototype of all theories of equal rights. Do you see how torn he is? Surely Nietzsche, the philosopher, is not saying the equality of human souls is crazy. Or maybe he is. But it's painful for this man to draw it back to what he clearly states is a Christian concept. So what does this mean? This means how we view humanity matters. So let me walk through a couple of cultural things that this should inform and this should shape. One, if human beings and all human beings are made in the image of God and are image bearers and have an elevated dignity above and beyond all the rest of creation, that shapes how we view abortion. That shapes how we view abortion. And speaking, if you're like, oh, here we go, a little Bible Belt Christian culture wars. No. I love to play the game of science, just not afraid of science in any way. Scientifically speaking, a human being is created at conception. That's not me going to Psalm 130. I'm telling you, the DNA strand and all that is necessary to be defined as a human being is present in the womb. If you would argue against that, well, it doesn't have a personality, it can't make decisions, it's still dependent on its mother, then why don't we kill Darren? If that's what you want to believe, why don't we gather all the mentally ill and let's just slaughter them if that's how you want to define it? You can't define it that way. In fact, science is so on the side of life beginning at conception that the argument for choice has completely changed in the last year. The argument for choice is no longer, that's not really a human, it's a fetus. And the argument is now, the mother's life is more valuable than the baby's, even if the mother's life is not at stake. Her comfort, what she wants, what she desires is more valuable than the life of the human being, the distinct human being inside of her. This is wicked and dark, evil, built on a doctrine of demons, and it's murder. Now, the only people in this room right now are sinners in need of grace. That's the only people in this room. And so if you're like, man, this is my first time in church in 3 years, you're going to start us off with, I'm a murderer. Knowing who we are is the best way to get where Jesus wants to take us. So yes, I am. Now the hope is that regardless of what baggage we've carried in here today, that Christ is bigger. And that Christ's forgiveness can lay on top of whatever we've done and forgive and heal and deliver.